Hello and welcome to Money Life. This is Sucheta Dhilan. Today we talk about Franklin Templeton. Why again? Because just last week Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund sent out emails to 3 lakh investors who had invested in 6 debt schemes which suddenly shut down on 23rd April this year and said that give us consent for winding up these schemes. In fact, as most of you know, especially if you are an affected unit holder, they were already in the process of winding it up. This has been a hard fought battle because investor associations took them to court, took the regulator to court, pointed out that the regulator was not doing enough to protect investor interest. In this case, when I say investors, I mean unit holders. And there was a long pitched battle at the Karnataka High Court, which heard 3 or 4 petitions. They were clubbed together and issued a verdict. This was on 24th of October. The matter went to the Supreme Court. This is the background. These 6 schemes have a serious amount of money, 26,000 crore, and in fact account for about a third of Franklin Templeton's entire corpus, which is 78,000 crore. Now, what is worrying and why are we discussing it? My worry is that investors are being coerced or frightened into voting for the winding up of the schemes. Now, how is this happening? In multiple ways. First of all, the matter is in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has given permission to Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund to go ahead and have the e-voting and get permission from investors. So a letter goes out from the fund where the company says that if you do not agree to the winding up, you have to give a yes or no answer, and if you do not agree, if your answer is no, then it's quite likely that the floodgates of redemption would start, because redemptions are currently stayed, again under court orders, and the floodgates would open and this fund would be forced to sell whatever its holdings, we don't know what they are, at distressed prices, and the losses to investors will be huge. Now, nobody wants to lose money, right? But we want to know how much would have been lost and how much is going to be lost because of distressed sales and can be blamed on redemptions. More importantly, there is a sinister social media campaign that's going on, almost slandering people who are fighting. This is a really good battle that was fought by the Chennai Financial Markets Association and by people like Midas Touch Investors. They are in court. This doesn't happen regularly. It takes time for investors to get together to make a cogent case. It has happened this time with great results, because if any of you have seen my previous video blogs and looked at the Karnataka High Court orders, you will see that the strictures issued by the court are quite amazing. In fact, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is the market regulator, one of the most powerful in the world, with all the powers to take action to protect investors, has been doing nothing. And this was pointed out to the court, and in fact the court has said something to the effect that when this is a historic action, it's never before happened in the Indian mutual fund industry, where 6 schemes are being wound up, SEBI seems to be completely complacent to keep a hands-off attitude, not get involved, not looked at whether it is fair, not looked at what is happening. Yes, it is conducting an investigation. There is a forensic audit done. So we hear about the forensic audit all the time. It was discussed in the Karnataka High Court, not taken on board. It's been discussed again in the Supreme Court. So just 2 days ago, the court said the forensic audit will be submitted in a sealed envelope. Now, my question is this, that investors who have representatives, investor organizations fighting for them, are saying just one thing, which we agree with, which is that why are you making unit holders e-vote blind? Why are you not giving them facts? This is a country which has adopted disclosure-based regulation, which means that SEBI doesn't spell out the rules for everything. It says disclose and investors will take a considered decision. Now, you need facts. If you're going to vote, you need to know when your money is coming back. You need to know what is the extent of loss, and you need to know what is the culpability. I mean, there is a forensic audit. What has it pointed out? Did trustees, fund managers fulfill their fiduciary responsibilities? Did they do all that they could to invest in the right shares? Did they follow what the prospectus of the mutual fund has said it would do? We don't know. What I know is one thing: if the forensic audit had given a clean chit to the mutual fund, you can bet that it would be out in the public and it would be waved around to say, look, we've done nothing wrong, this is force majeure, this happened because of COVID. The very fact that it's sneakily going around and will be in a sealed envelope and be given to the Supreme Court after the e-voting is highly suspicious, and you cannot blindfold investors and make them vote. Like I said, at least three petitions have been arguing in favor of investors. They have gone to the Economic Offences Wing, they've gone to the High Court, they are in the Supreme Court arguing the case, and they're saying more or less what I said. The lead among these is the Chennai Association. Midas Touch is an association which scored the biggest victory for mutual fund investors in the 90s after the Harshit Mehta scam. Now, Viren Jain of Midas Touch has written to Ajay Tyagi, and in fact, he says something interesting. He says that Franklin Mutual Fund does not even have 3 lakh email accounts of all its investors. We don't know if that's true. He says that there has to be an audit trail. Now, SEBI didn't do anything, but the Supreme Court has asked SEBI to get into the act and become an observer. Is it true that they don't have email accounts? Only Franklin Templeton can say. But there has to be traceability, there has to be accountability, there's no doubt about it. He also says don't coerce. Chennai CFMA also says the same thing. Do not coerce people by false propaganda, pretending that there's going to be a run on the fund and you will have to make a distress sale. Now, why is SEBI not acting? Why is it that the regulator has to be pushed to do it? And what is this stuff about using people who are loyal to you? We don't know who's doing it, but obviously there are lots of people who are going to gain by saying, get this problem out of the way, because if e-voting happens as it is scheduled between 26th and 28th of December, and all the issues including the forensic audit come out later, then we don't know whether SEBI is going to punish the trust, the asset management company, the trustees, whether there will be any disgorgement, whether they'll pay any penalty, whether this will be added back to the corpus which will be paid to investors. Most issues will be brushed under the carpet is what I think, because no one has the time and patience to follow and keep up the pressure on an ongoing basis. The pressure is today for the winding up, and investors are all at sea. You can see them all aflutter because most investors may not like to hear this, but unfortunately don't read, don't understand, depend on distributors. Now remember, your distributor is distributing probably a dozen funds and earns his income from the funds. You have to keep thinking about whether your distributor is on your side or is going to tell you, listen, take a haircut. Take a haircut because it will be only 50% now. I don't know what they tell you because the numbers are not out and SEBI has not put them out. CFMA has in fact put out an old email from people, and here's a chart where it suggests that the haircut that investors may take could be 50 to 80%. Now, Midas Touch says at some time somebody in Franklin said it would take 5 years to return investors' money. Shouldn't all this, if you had a e-voting, if you had a prospectus, if you had an IPO, all this would be disclosed in writing upfront, and the regulator needs to step in and ensure it. Now, every time the mutual fund industry has misbehaved, turned into lenders, done promoter funding, colluded with them to hide it from stock exchanges, it is SEBI which sort of backed it tacitly by not doing anything. When it comes to being proactive at helping investors, why the silence? Why is it that investors, when there's a huge, powerful market regulator, why do they have to go to the High Court? Why do they have to go to the Supreme Court? Why is the regulator not listening to them? This is an appalling state of affairs. CFMA obviously realizes the kind of pressure it is under. It is also being slandered on social media. So CFMA has told investors, we're not going to give up the battle. We'll fight a class action suit. We will take it to the parent company. But honestly, I have been watching things for the last 30 years, and if the Indian regulator doesn't stand with Indian investors, it is a little ambitious to think that a US regulator, a US court is going to vote on behalf or rule on behalf of Indian investors in India to be given money. We need our regulators to stand by us. We need our regulators to ensure full disclosure. That's all that people are asking. We are not saying don't wind up the scheme. We are not saying things can't go wrong. All we are saying is tell us what happened, put it on the table, allow a considered decision, right? And tell people what are the likely extent of losses. Now remember, this is a government which takes great pride calling itself a chowkidar, promises a strong, clean administration. How is it that nobody gives a damn about investors? 18 brokerage firms shut down in the last year or so. Look at the number of banks going under. And now this new worry about mutual funds doesn't stop at worrying about mutual funds. It almost is as though you will use digital media to ensure that anybody who speaks up will be attacked. I don't think you can build a safe investment climate if you allow this to happen. SEBI, wake up. And you as investors, whether or not you're likely to lose money in Franklin Templeton, better realize that this is about you as well, because you have to put your money somewhere. Your interest rates on bank deposits are declining. If you agree with me, please share this video and subscribe to Money Life TV so that more people benefit from what we're trying to say. Thank you.